Hello everyone, in this video we will be seeing part 8 of What If Deku Was in the DC Universe. So be sure to stick around until the end. Let's get started. Izuku swiftly crossed his arms to block another mighty blow from Diana's fist, which sent him backwards. Izuku wore a black tank top and light green pants with his iconic red shoes. He got back up and jumped at her with one for all at 15%, ready to deliver a powerful kick to Diana's side. Just as Izuku's kick was inches from its target, Diana jumped back, being slightly knocked back by the air of the kick. "Your kicks are improving, Izuku, but your arc is too big," Diana said as she prepared for another attack, while wearing a red t-shirt, black short shorts and black sneakers. "Even with that boost in speed I can still dodge it without a scratch." Ever since the Dark Kara incident, the Teen Titans had decided to train harder in order to face off against stronger foes. They headed back to the junkyard with all the Titans wearing sports clothes as to better train. Right now, Izuku and Diana were sparring against one another. "Alright, I'll try to cut it in half as to not only rely on speed, bet All Might didn't have to deal with all this trouble," Izuku said as he held his chin in thought. "I've seen that you try to imitate him in much of your style. All Might had his obstacles, and you have yours," Diana said before charging in with a punch to the face. Izuku dodged the attack by an inch, and then he grabbed hold of the Amazon's arm before flinging her over his shoulder. With cat-like grace, she recovered before swiping her leg under Izuku, bringing him to the floor and pinning him down. "And that's a match, folks," called Barbara from where the rest of the team was sitting. "Congratulations, Izuku, you've managed to last longer this round," Diana said as she helped Izuku to his feet. Of course the comment did get a snicker from Kara. "I meant in training, yes, Izuku more than lasts when," Diana began, causing Izuku to turn red as a stop sign. "We get it, honey, now can we move this along?" Z said, cutting Diana off and seeing the red faces on the rest of the team. "Who's next?" "That would be Kara and Jess," said Barbara, looking at the makeshift board she had. Once that was said, Kara and Jess stepped into the ring for their sparring session. "Alright, remember, first one to pin their opponent wins," Diana said, acting as referee. "This is about improving and getting stronger. This isn't a real fight," Izuku added. Kara clicked her tongue in annoyance as she stretched her arms and legs. "I still don't get why I have to do this. I could level this city in an evening. With super strength the fight is pretty one-sided," Kara said. "Begin," called Diana. Just then Kara rushed towards Jess with her super speed. Jess used her ring to create a wet slide under Kara's feet, causing her to slip and fall face first into the ground. Kara tried to get back up, but the will construct began wrapping around her until she looked like a wrapped present. "Looks like I win," said Jess with a bit of smugness. "2 out of 3, Kara demanded before breaking out of the construct. "You had your chance, Kara, now is someone else's turn," said Diana before Barbara called the next 2 fighters. As the training went on, Izuku began wondering how he could better improve his usage of his quirk. Thanks to the training that he and the Titans were doing, he could use 20% of one for all with only some soreness. Kara had been giving him a lot of weights to work out with, but they were only helping in a slow rate. He had to keep getting stronger. They wouldn't always manage with brains and strategy against the stronger villains. "Maybe if I apply more speed when I lift my legs, I'll be able to land kicks much faster than my opponent can react. But if I do that, I'll put too much pressure on my legs and thus hurt myself more," Izuku mumbled to himself as he looked over his notes on how he could become stronger. "Izuku, you're mumbling again," Kara said, getting him out of his thoughts. I'm sorry. I was just thinking on how to improve my kicks and I got carried away," Izuku apologized. "Izuku, if you need aid in improving your technique, then I'll be happy to give you a hand with it," said Diana. "I am a trained Amazon warrior." "Really? Thank you, Diana," Izuku said with tears flowing out of him like a small stream. This of course caused all the girls to look at him like they were looking at a puppy. They awed at him before he wiped the tears from his face. "Alright, the first thing you must do is pull your leg back, raise your leg partly upwards and then outstretch it," said Diana, showing each step to Izuku using her own leg. Izuku nodded in understanding and then proceeded to do the movements, slowly at first and then alongside Diana with greater speeds. They continued training in a similar fashion for the rest of the day. But this did not go unnoticed by a certain someone. High above the clouds at the top of a large mountain sat a man looking at a bunch of screens. Each and every single one of them showed a different part of the world. He had short blonde hair, tanned skin and dark eyes, and wore a white suit and purple shirt. He didn't look happy at all. "I can't bloody believe it," said the man looking through his screens. These so-called titans call that training? There's no blood, no broken bones, and no death. Those fellas in northern Rolaja could tell them a thing or two. Sulking in your room, Ares? Called a feminine voice from behind the god of war. The woman behind Ares had fair skin, brown hair and blue eyes, and wore a blue business suit with a skirt. A pair of thin glasses, and her hair was tied in a bun. Athena, to what do I owe your company? Asked Ares, not turning around. I've noticed that you're taking too much of an interest in the champion of Themyscira and her allies, said Athena, walking up to Ares. I just want to make sure you're not up to anything. If anything, they annoy me, especially that baby-faced boy that she calls the champion of Zeus. I swear, I hated that title when Hercules had it, and I still hate it now, if not more so, Ares said. Fighting for peace, what a laugh. I believe that they are on the right path. In a few years they might actually pull it off, Athena said, causing Ares to punch the screen. They've fought foot soldiers so far. If they faced me, then they'd be singing a different tune, Ares said as the screen fixed itself. And if they beat you, you'll leave them alone? Athena asked with curiosity. The god of war laughed at the question. War will always be in the background of every major event. But if they last more than 5 minutes, then I guess they are worth something, Ares said. Besides, Zeus forbade us from having too much of an appearance in this new world. Then you know the rules. One mortal vessel and your powers diminished, Athena said. Very well, I could use a walk around this new heroic world, Ares said before jumping off of the mountain. Why must he always be so dramatic? Athena asked herself. Down in Metropolis, Ares had arrived and started looking for a good vessel for him to use. It couldn't be just any normal body, it had to be one that the god of war could really use without breaking. Sadly, none of the people he saw were up to his standards. Too weak, Ares said, looking at a skater boy. Too fat, not enough muscles, he said, looking at a man eating a burger. Too Amazon, he said to a bodybuilding woman. I don't even know what that is, he said to a person dressed as a punk rocker with a face full of piercings. Ares let out a disappointed sigh as he stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. I should have tried in Gotham or Japan, those places are crawling with decent enough vessels. Ares said to himself before a tall muscular man wearing a black raincoat over his body bumped into him. Out of my way, you snub, said the man in a sinister voice. Ares felt that man's bloodlust and desire for destruction and conflict the second he touched him. He hadn't felt those levels of viciousness in centuries, if not millennia. He had to find out who this man might be. Hello, vessel, Ares said as he began following the disguised man into one of the back alleys. The large figure pulled back the hood that covered his head to reveal a light-skinned man with short blonde hair and a fake red patch on his left eye. The man was covered in muscles from head to toe and looked angry as all hell. Damn it, said to himself. Why did I pick this crappy city in the first place? I thought all heroes were back in Japan. I should get out of here before one of them recognizes me. But why would you do that, when there's a lot you can do here? Called Ares from the other end of the alley. The muscular man smiled in a sinister fashion before pulling off his disguise. He wore a red tank top that was about to break, and a pair of jeans. He walked up to Ares as his muscles began to break from the skin, making him bigger. His hand now looked to be the size of a motor and got close to Ares' head. Big mistake, snub. Guess I'll be killing someone today, said the man with sinister glee. Ares only smiled before pushing the muscle monster back with his open palm. The muscular man landed backwards, crushing the trash cans behind him. Please, mortal, you wouldn't be able to take me on my worst day, Ares said, walking up to the downed man before him. But you're in luck, because I need your body for something. Don't worry about a thing. In fact, I think you'll like it. Ares turned himself into fire and flowed into the criminal's body, causing him to gasp and convulse. After a minute or two of intense pain for the man, Ares gained full control of the body. He stood back up, but Ares was in command. So, Muscular. Time to make a big entrance, said Ares through Muscular's body before walking out into the street. Terrible name, by the way. Izuku and the rest of the team were going to have a little snack at the burrito bucket, much to Barbara's delight. After such harsh training, Diana thought that it would be best if they had a hearty meal. Oh man, you guys are gonna love this place, said Barbara as she skipped towards the restaurant. They've got tacos, chalupas, flautas, and lots of burritos. All that plus lots of guacamole. Sounds like a fun time, said Jess, not very excited given her experience with the last Mexican restaurant that she tried. As long as there isn't anything too greasy, I'll be fine, Z said, putting on her makeup. What do you think, Izuku? asked Karen to the only male of the team. Oh, I'm not sure. I haven't had Mexican food to be honest, Izuku said, causing Barbara to gasp in horror. You've never had a burrito? Barbara asked, shaking up Izuku like a rag doll. No, not really, Izuku squeaked, like a mouse before a cat. Barbara gasped almost as if she had been told Batman was retiring. She wrapped her arm around Izuku before she dragged him into the restaurant. We need to get some meat burritos in you pronto, Barbara screamed. Not necessarily, he could always go for a vegetarian taco, Jess called as the team followed behind them. High above the street, a possessed muscular looked around for the right moment for his entrance into the stage. Ah, the heroes are going for some food? Asked Ares before chuckling to himself. It's too bad they'll taste defeat before those meals, he said before Muscular jumped down onto the street. Barbara and the rest of the team were in line, after a good 5-minute wait in line. And just as she was about to place in their order, a thunderous boom echoed behind them. The clerk hid behind the counter while the Titans looked back to see Muscular turning into a large muscle-bound monster. Titans, come face the might of a true villain, called the possessed Muscular before throwing a large tipper lorry at the burrito bucket. Deku and the rest of the Titans suited up and answered Muscular's challenge. He kicked the lorry to a stop with the aid of One for All before the team stood before the villain. This guy is certainly a new one, Supergirl said. Any idea who this guy might be? Batgirl asked. Deku's eyes widened in surprise as he finally recognized the villain. His name is Muscular, no other alias. His quirk is muscle augmentation, meaning he can change and modify his muscles however he sees fit. He's wanted in Japan for the murder of 2 heroes and an attack on a village, Deku explained, his eyes never leaving Muscular, and an anger ever growing. This guy is dangerous and we can't take him lightly. Then he must be stopped at once, Wonder Woman added before the Titans charged at the vicious villain. Ares smiled as always. Conflict brought him great joy. Using the vessel of Muscular, he charged at the heroes before jumping above them. He used Muscular's quirk to turn both of his arms into massive slabs of muscle before slamming them down against the heroes. The Titans scattered as the shockwave of the impact echoed through the entire street. Batgirl used this chance to throw some batarangs at the villain. This is for ruining my chance at a burrito supremo. Batgirl yelled as Muscular blocked the bat-shaped weapons with one of his arms. Muscular turned and punched towards Batgirl, forcing her to duck underneath the attack. Just then, Muscular used his muscles to wrap around Batgirl, capturing her. If you think those toys are weapons, you're sorely mistaken, little girl, said Muscular before throwing her towards a car. But before she could hit the car, Deku managed to catch Batgirl with his speed. Just then, Supergirl crashed into Muscular's back with a supersonic tackle, sending him skidding forwards. Wonder Woman used this chance to wrap the villain with her lasso of truth. She pulled hard, bringing him back towards her shield. But just as she was about to slam it into the villain's face, he used his muscles to turn himself into a red ball that crashed into the Amazon. If that is all you've got, girlie, then you best get lost, screamed Muscular, as he used the strength of the pole to crush Wonder Woman. The champion of the Amazons tried to hold her ground as best as she could, but Muscular's living muscles were making it difficult. Red now Namo, Rapa Ediseb M Ni Afupfo Ekoms, Zatanna chanted, causing Wonder Woman to disappear in a puff of smoke before appearing next to Zatanna. Thank you, Zatanna, Wonder Woman said before pulling out her sword. You're welcome, Zatanna replied, before Muscular turned himself back into a man. This is fun, I'll admit, but it's time to put an end to it, called out the possessed Muscular. Couldn't agree more, desgraciado, Green Lantern said, creating a massive metal pyramid around the villain, restraining him. Ares smiled at the feeble attempt at holding his vessel down. He believed that it would only take a small hit to get the construct off of him. He used Muscular's strength to break apart the will construct, but found that it was harder than he thought. The God of War began focusing Muscular's quirk into giving it enough force to push the damned prison off of him, but Green Lantern Jessica Cruz kept applying pressure. I won't let you move from there, said Green Lantern, as she struggled against the villain slowly rising back to his feet. We gotta hit him hard now, before this gets out of hand, Deku said, charging up One for All. Attack! Wonder Woman called out as the Titans followed her lead. Wonder Woman went in first, striking Muscular across the face with her shield. This attack managed to make him lose focus and get caught by the weight of the pyramid. Batgirl followed up with her portable bat taser gun. She fired it and wrapped it around Muscular's right arm, pulling him off balance. She then activated the electrical pulse, sending a painful arc of electricity through his body. Supergirl used her freeze breath on Muscular's left arm, freezing it in place. She then went to assist Batgirl in pulling the cable of her weapon. Zatanna used one of her spells to bind the muscle-bound villain down. Deku joined in the fight by kicking Muscular on the knees. Using the 15% of one for all that he could use, he delivered a devastating blow on Muscular, forcing him to the ground. "I can still fight, you fools," Ares growled through Muscular. Just then, before Ares could think that he couldn't be humiliated anymore, Bumblebee appeared before him. She turned on her stingers and blasted them point blank at Muscular's face, causing him to scream in pain. Green Lantern used this opportunity to fully encase the villain in her pyramid prison. "I believe we have him," Green Lantern said. "Huzzah! We are victorious against this fiend," exclaimed Wonder Woman, but she was wrong. "Alright, I'm crushing these fools right now," Ares yelled as he gave Muscular more and more power to break free from the bindings that he had. Muscular's body was covered by a crimson-red aura. His one good eye went wide with a berserker's rage as he felt the power fill him. A new, seemingly boundless strength coursed through his very being, making him bigger than before. A strength that would guarantee his bloodthirst would be satisfied. With a mighty bellow, Muscular broke free from his makeshift prison. His actions were so strong that he unleashed a powerful shockwave that pushed the heroes back. He then proceeded to fight back against the Titans. Muscular first uppercutted Supergirl, sending her backwards into Batgirl and Bumblebee. The three girls crashed against a building, weakening the structure. Supergirl quickly grabbed hold of the building and held it up as to protect her friends. Muscular jumped after Jess and Zatanna next. In an effort to defend themselves, Green Lantern created a shield of will. The villain then smacked both Green Lantern and Zatanna to the side, destroying the construct and sending them into two large trucks. Deku and Wonder Woman jumped at the muscle-bound fiend, with Wonder Woman stabbing her sword into Muscular's shoulder. Deku then grabbed hold of Muscular's left arm and, using 20% of one for all, flung him hard into the street. Muscular let out a breath from shock, before grabbing hold of both heroes with his muscles and slamming them into the street. He stood up and looked at the heroes with a taunting smile. "I think it's time to teach you heroes that life isn't going to go along with your petty ideals," said Ares through Muscular. Although he knew he'd agree with his words. "I'll make you see that cold truth, even if I have to beat it into your broken dead bodies. Starting with the Amazon." Muscular rose up both of his sledgehammer-like arms high in the air above Wonder Woman. With a mighty roar, Muscular brought down both of his arms, creating a massive crater and a large cloud of dirt. He smiled, believing his task was done, but his glee soon turned to confusion as the dust dissipated. There was no Wonder Woman in the crater. "Don't worry, Wonder Woman," said a voice from behind Muscular, forcing him to turn. Deku stood there, holding on to his friend with both of his arms. His body was glowing and green electricity crackled around it like a living battery. He slowly and gently put her on the ground as she began to regain consciousness. "I'll take it from here," Deku said, putting on a brave smile, before turning to face Muscular and assumed a combat stance. Ares couldn't help but feel slightly put off by the smile upon Deku's face and the tears that filled the green-haired boy's eyes. "You may break my body, Muscular. You can even kill me, but you'll never hurt my friends, not while I'm still breathing." Ares couldn't help but smile while holding the urge to gag. He despised those sappy speeches heroes gave, but he couldn't help but admire the young boy's determination to face him, even with the odds against him. Muscular leaped forward with both of his arms stretched in a wide angle. Deku saw this coming and stood his ground. He knew that if he moved from his spot, the villain would most certainly attack Wonder Woman. So Deku did the one thing he could do. He focused One for All's power to course through him, and applied his new-formed combat skills to fight back. Deku disappeared from Muscular's sight for a brief second, startling the possessed villain. Deku began his attack with a powerful right punch to the villain's face, coming from his blind spot. Just as Muscular tried to regain his footing, the green-clad male hero kicked him in the face with a roundhouse kick. "St. Louis, smash!" Deku called out as the kick landed on its target. The strong air shock from Deku's attacks were able to disorient the villain long enough to make him lose his balance. Muscular spat blood before realizing that Deku had landed 2 shots on him. "Why, you little..." Ares began through Muscular before realizing that Deku was under him. Deku had begun channeling all the power he could into his left arm before unleashing the powerful attack directly at Muscular's solar plexus. His arm glowed brightly with energy crackling through it as it plunged deep into the villain's abdomen. Detroit. Smash! Deku yelled as 100% off his quirk was used on the larger enemy. All the air was punched out of Muscular's body as he was sent flying backwards by the punch. He crashed into the building that Supergirl was holding up, which gave her enough time to grab her friends and get out of the collapsing structure. The connection of the punch itself created a powerful shockwave that woke up the unconscious members of the Titans, who could only gaze in awe as their friend's attack tore not only his suit, but his left arm as well. Deku was left panting as his arm had turned vivid red, and pain filled his nervous system. He wanted to scream, but he couldn't. Deku would put on a brave smile to ensure that everyone knew it was all right. "Deku, your arm!" Wonder Woman called out as she saw the damage. "Hold still." Diana quickly began wrapping her lasso around Deku's arm as a makeshift cast. "It really hurts, but I can manage, Wonder Woman. I'll save everyone, with a smile on my face," Deku said, putting on a smile on his face. Wonder Woman could only stare in awe as his words sunk in, but the battle was not over. "How touching!" called a voice from the building. Both heroes looked at the source of the voice. From amongst the pieces of rubble, a large ball of smudged and torn muscle popped out. Muscular began pulling back his muscles to show his bloodied face, decorated with a sickening grin and missing his eye patch. "I thought you were all talk, but it seems I'll have to stop holding back to fully destroy you," said Ares through Muscular. Deku's face turned into a frown, fighting against the pain. He called upon the power of One for All once again. Adrenaline pumped through Deku's system as he readied himself for another devastating clash. Muscular gathered all the muscles that he still had into a massive red left fist. He then charged at Deku and the slowly recovering Titans. "Don't worry, Diana," said Deku in a calm voice. "It can be scary for sure, when you face such odds. But it is in the hardest of times that a hero has to smile the biggest," he said, as the lights and the flame that made up One for All connected, shining brighter as Deku gripped it within his fist. Deku wasn't going to give Muscular a chance to get close to his friends. He allowed all the power that he still had to power up his movements. Rushing through the broken street, Deku went up to clash once more with the monstrous fiend before him. He reeled back his right arm for one final punch. Muscular did something similar with his own arm. Filled with bloodlust, he attacked. Having a much longer arm allowed Muscular to attack much faster. Deku saw this coming and quickly ducked underneath the attack, only coming out with his mouthguard slightly broken. Broken only enough to show his daring smile. "No matter what, a hero will always find a way to win. You may have heard these words before, but let me show you what they really mean." Deku screamed as a green flame burned in his eyes. "Go beyond, plus Ultra," he screamed as his punch connected with Muscular, shattering his ribs. Deku sent a powerful blast of condensed air that tore apart Muscular's muscles, before sending him flying with the rest of the punch. Delaware. Detroit. Smash. Ares felt the punch as much as Muscular did, as they were both sent flying by the mighty blow. The rest of the Teen Titans could only stare in awe as their teammate and friend held up his fist in victory. A bright smile plastered on his face despite the pain that he was in. "You see, nothing to worry about," Deku said, before the rest of the team gathered up around him to voice their worries. "By the gods, Izuku, how could you have been so reckless?" asked Diana as she hugged him worriedly. "Oh my god, Greenie! What did that monster do to you?" exclaimed Kara as she held his arm in worry. "Are you in pain? Talk to me, darling," Z said with tears on her face. "Hold still, mi amor," Jess said as she created an arm slings for his injured arms. "Shouldn't we take him to a doctor?" asked Karen. "Calling one and ordering lots of burritos," Barbara said, quickly typing on her phone. Ares flew out of his vessel's body and went right back to the spot on Olympus that he had started on. "I'm surprised you got back so early, Ares," said Athena, looking down at her watch. "You never mentioned that the kid could actually punch a god out of a vessel." Ares grunted as the pain his vessel felt was also felt by him. "And as per our agreement, you'll leave them alone," Athena said with a smug smile on her face. "Whatever, I'm gonna go get a drink," Ares grumbled as he left the landing zone. Athena giggled to herself before looking back on the Titans on one of the screens. "Ah, to be a young mortal. I can't help but wonder how the children will come out from this," Athena said. "But that is Aphrodite's job, not mine." Izuku laid on the couch on the hideout completely covered in bandages on both of his arms. It had been 2 days since the battle against Muscular, and he was still feeling the sting of the battle. Sure, Z had healed him with a spell, but she decided to teach the young hero a lesson in restraint by letting both of his arms sting for a few days. Things had returned to normal and Izuku was working on his schoolwork. He put down the pencil after finishing another calculus equation and stretched his arms. "Ow!" Izuku said, flinching from the slight pain. "After this, I gotta finish my paper on the American Industrial Revolution for history. Not much I can do about it," he said before getting back to work. Unbeknownst to the young green hero, he was being watched by his 4 lovers from afar. Diana, Kara, Z, and Jess had all been doting over Izuku for the last couple of days. They had each done something or offered to make his day much easier in one way or another. Diana had been helping him in his studies while bringing him some food. Kara had offered to give him a bath on multiple occasions. Zatanna had tried to give him a makeover and get him new clothes, much to his embarrassment. While Jessica fed him her own vegetarian dishes, which ended up going right through him. "Oh, would you look at him, studying and working so hard despite his condition," Kara said. "He can fend for himself, you know? He just can't punch stuff that hard in the near future," Z said, putting in her own thoughts on Care. "That'll teach him some restraint and not to give us heart attacks." "Yeah, but he still does it. And he still takes care of us when we need help. Just the other day he helped me with my botanic garden, even though all that I've given him has landed him in the bathroom," Jessica said before purring. "Ahi se ve tan atractivo sin su camisa." Regardless of that, Izuku needs to relax a bit. "He's always helping us, training, writing notes, patrolling with us and studying to keep up in school," Diana said. "He needs something to take off all the steam that he has in him." "I can think of something to relax him," Kara said. "If it's for his own good, I don't mind taking one for the team." "He needs to relax, Kara, not you," Z said, cutting Kara's idea before it moved any further. "What do Japanese boys of Izuku's age usually do for fun?" Diana asked, hoping to help her friend. "Video games, karaoke, watch anime, stuff like that," Jessica suggested. "I don't think our darling is into that kind of stuff. He's the quiet type," Z said. "Usually, back in Themyscira, after a long day of training and combat, my sisters and I would go to the waterfall and take a long warm bath to ease our aching bodies," Diana said, making the other girls get an idea. "That's it. Remember the spa we went to when Diana first arrived?" Z asked her team and they all nodded. "Well, I think I know something that he'll love," she said with a mischievous smile on her face. The other girls could only wonder what Zatanna had in mind when she pulled out her phone. A couple of minutes passed as the girls heard Zatanna make a reservation for 5 next Friday before hanging up. After her call, Z walked out of her hiding spot and went in front of Izuku. She cleared her throat to get his attention. "Oh, hi Z. Can I help you with something?" Izuku asked in a friendly manner. "Oh, not really, darling. I just wanted to give you this," Z said before handing Izuku a coupon, which made his eyes go wide. "A coupon for an open-air hot spring," Izuku called out, catching the other girls off guard. "How did you?" "I figured that you could use a break after all the work you've been doing. Just be there next Friday at 8, and drink plenty of fluids, darling," Z said, leaving Izuku with stars in his eyes and not noticing her sneaky smile. Once Zatanna was back with the girls, they all stared at her with curiosity. "What did you just do, Z?" Kara asked, noticing the smile she had. "Oh, that's a bit of a surprise, I'm afraid," Z said with a giggle. "Just be sure to be there before 8. "I had no idea that boys liked hot springs," Diana said with slight amazement. "Trust me, Diana, the hot springs will not be the main event," Z said before disappearing in a puff of pink smoke. All the remaining girls stared at each other with confusion before looking at their male friend. Whatever Z had planned for Friday would have to be left up to debate until that very day. The week passed quickly, and Friday arrived soon enough. Izuku found himself in an open-air hot spring, and his eyes glistened in happiness. Armed with nothing but a towel and a tray to carry a couple more things, he entered the hot spring. There was a large pool with plenty of steam coming from it, and a small waterfall that had his name on it. "This place is huge," Izuku said before entering the pool, and letting out a sigh. "I gotta thank Z for this later. He had been a little homesick the last couple of weeks, but he was feeling much better now. He even started to develop a different style to compensate for his arms." All the worries that the young hero had seemed to melt away thanks to the warm waters that surrounded him. Nothing could possibly surprise him now but, Unbeknownst to the young male hero, 4 silhouettes slowly approached him from behind. Z is really amazing, I should do something nice for her after this. They're all amazing. I still can't believe that I made such amazing friends, Izuku said to himself. Especially since they are so cute and attractive. A pair of arms slowly wrapped behind him, and in a swift pull, Izuku found himself being pressed into a large pair of soft, doughy pillows. He looked around only to be met with a strong and forceful set of lips. Izuku immediately recognized who had given him the kiss before she pulled off of him. "Ah, isn't it nice, girls? Greenie thinks of us when he's supposed to be relaxing," Kara said with a light chuckle, wearing nothing but a white towel around her body. "When else do you think of us?" "Kara, what are you doing here? Isn't this the men's side?" asked Izuku before her words dawned on him. "Wait, girls?" he asked before looking behind him and Kara. Behind them were Diana, Z and Jessica, all of them wearing towels instead of clothes, and all of them doing whatever they could to keep them on, which sadly meant that their bodies left nothing to the imagination. Diana's F cups, Jessica's and Kara's D&D cups and Z's amazing curves were almost too much for their towels. Izuku gasped as he tried to cover himself, but to no avail. Kara pulled him out of the water with ease before wrapping her arm around him. "Don't fight it, Greenie," Kara said, pressing her breasts on Izuku. "This is happening." What are you guys doing here?" Izuku asked as his face turned bright red. "What do you mean, darling? This is the women's side. Which means that you are the one in the wrong place," said Z, teasing him with her towel. "Come to take a peek." "But the sign?" replied Izuku, hoping to make his case. "The one I enchanted to lead you here?" asked Z, earning a shock from Izuku. "Oh yeah, I did that. But why do that?" Izuku asked as he was now surrounded by women from all sides. "Well, you see, Izuku, Jess tried but found herself feeling a little embarrassed. "We've noticed that you have been doing a lot lately, and we decided to help you loosen up," Diana said before kissing him on the lips. Whatever shock or confusion Izuku had was left far behind the back of his head. They closed their eyes and enjoyed the kiss. Time skip after. After a good rest, all 5 titans were bathing in the hot springs. "You guys didn't have to do all this, you know?" Izuku asked the girls. "We just thought that you could use some relaxation, Izuku. After all, you have been doing so much for the team and us," Diana said as she leaned next to Izuku. "Yeah, you're always there for us. Don't you know you deserve some you-time, Greenie?" asked Kara, drinking some cold water. "But I do my own things now and again," Izuku said, blushing. "Studying and writing down notes don't exactly count, darling," Zatanna said before kissing Izuku. "You need rest as much as we do. So you can rely on us from time to time," Jessica said, pouring a cup of water for Izuku. "You are part of a team, Izuku. You needn't carry on such heavy burdens on your own," Diana said, hugging him close to her. Izuku had to sigh in defeat. They were right. He needed to take it easy from time to time or his friends would worry. "And that goes double when the kids come," Kara added, causing Izuku to spit his drink. "I mean, eventually when the kids come. He was very eagerly humping us," she said, making Izuku turn red. Izuku and the girls all ran towards the ferry at high speeds. They had decided to have a fun time in the western district of Metropolis, but they had forgotten about the time. Now they were on a race to catch up to the last ferry to get back to the city. "Quick friends, the last ship is about to leave," Diana said as they all ran after the ship. "Yeah, you don't need to tell us twice, Diana." "No way am I missing my concert," Kara replied, running next to her. "At least you don't have a curfew," Barbara said. "I have to make it to the rally before they begin," Jess said. "There," pointed Izuku at the ferry as it prepared to set sail. The ferry was slowly leaving the port, with the loading bay already closing. The team of heroes rushed even faster, should they be forced to take the long way back. "Run faster, we're almost there," said Z. Sadly, however, not all the team was running as fast as they hoped. Karen, given her shorter stature, was far behind the rest of the group. She moved as fast as her legs could take her, and yet she was barely able to catch up. "Please wait up, guys," called Karen, completely out of breath. "I should really do more cardio." Izuku turned his head back and noticed Karen's position. He activated a bit of One for All, and rushed back to give her a boost. In the blink of an eye, Izuku and Karen were now at the front of the group. "Thanks, Izuku," Karen said between gasps of air. "No problem," Izuku replied. "No time for congratulations, we must board this ship now," Diana said as they finally caught up with the ferry. Jump, Kara said, and one by one the Titans did. Well, most of them did. Karen, you have to jump, Izuku said. You can make it, Barbara added. We believe in you, Diana said. Karen kept running after the fairy. She constantly thought to herself that she could do the jump. She had been in more dangerous situations than this. A simple jump was nothing. But in the back of her mind, her insecurity made her doubt. What if she missed? What if she fell down into the cold, messy waters of the pier? What if she accidentally revealed her secret identity and her friends were discovered because of her? All these thoughts eventually began to weight Karen down. Her breathing became more ragged and short. She eventually stopped as the ferry left the port. Karen let out a teared breath as she could only see the ferry and her friends leave her behind. It's okay, I'll take the long way back, Karen said as she looked towards the bridge. Izuku turned to his friends, and Diana gave him a nod. He activated One for All, and made a jump back to the ferry port. Izuku saw that Karen was feeling rather down, and decided to accompany her back. With a heavy thud he landed next to Karen, slightly startling her. Izuku, what are you doing here? Karen asked as Izuku helped her to her feet. I thought you might need company. It is a long walk, he replied with a smile. Thanks, but you didn't have to, Karen said, avoiding seeing her blush. Don't worry about it, Izuku replied as they began walking towards the bridge. The two teens spent most of the time walking and keeping their words to themselves. Up until they reached the bridge, not a word was exchanged, so Izuku thought that he should break the ice. So, Karen, what are your plans for the night? Asked Izuku. I should have jumped, Karen said under her breath. What? I should have jumped onto the ferry when I had the chance, but I didn't. How can I be a superhero if I'm afraid of doing such a simple thing? Karen asked. You don't have to be a daredevil if you don't want to, Karen, Izuku said to her. I'm still a mess in my own way. Yeah, but you aren't afraid of acting when you have to, Karen said before she heard a glass bottle being kicked. Did you hear that? Yeah, Izuku replied. The two young heroes looked around for the source of the noise, and all around them they heard a form of movement. A slithering noise behind them, a laugh behind the corner of a shadow. The silhouette of a cat climbing through the cables of the bridge could only be seen by the corner of their eyes. Izuku and Karen hid behind one of the beams as electricity crackled through the few lights of the bridge. They turned around to see what was going on and saw the source of all the noises. One by one the female villains that they had faced began appearing on the bridge. Giganta, Star Sapphire, Catwoman, Livewire, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn made their way onto the bridge. No way, Izuku said, surprised to see the majority of their villains working together. Star Sapphire, Livewire, Poison Ivy, Catwoman, Giganta, and Harley Quinn. All the supervillains we faced are here, together, Karen said as Harley Quinn laughed in her entrance. But what are they doing here? There isn't anything worth stealing on the bridge, Izuku said as he pulled his phone, ready to call the rest of the team. Back with the female villain team, Harley continued laughing as she pranced and cartwheeled around the bridge. This of course irritated the rest of the villain girls, and causing them to roll their eyes. Are you done? Asked Catwoman. Sorry, Kitty, but you lost the coin toss. Therefore tonight's evil scheme is mine to plan. Leave it to a cat to bet on tails. Harley laughed before she pulled out a whole bunch of explosives. And I say we blow up this bridge. No math test tomorrow, Mr. Cunningham. Both Izuku and Karen's eyes opened widely at the words that the clown girl had said. The destruction of the bridge would cause a major problem for the city. People wouldn't be able to get to work and their families would struggle. Not to mention the millions of dollars that it would cost the city to rebuild the bridge. These villains had to be stopped. We have to stop them, said Izuku, reaching into his backpack for his hero suit. We're outnumbered and they are nuts. We gotta call the others, said Karen, pulling out her phone, only to find out that it was out of battery. Oh no, how are we going to get the others here? Izuku looked to his phone, and as luck would have it, he had no signal. He began thinking about their next move. If they left at top speed to get their friends, then they might not be able to get back in time to stop the villain's plot. And if they fought them, they could lose. Just then, a risky plan came into Izuku's mind. Karen, you go find the team. I'll keep them busy until you come back, Izuku said before putting on his mouthguard. What? Izuku, that's crazy, Karen said. We don't have time to go find the girls and come back before they destroy the bridge. If I distract them, then you can go find Diana and the others and come back in time, Izuku explained. But it's too risky. Aren't you afraid you'll fail? Karen asked. I just don't think about it, Deku said before getting to his feet. And put on a big smile. Karen looked at Izuku, eyes filled with hope and admiration. She then reached for her necklace and activated her armor. The armor covered her body before she shrank to her miniature size. I'll be back as quick as I can, Bumblebee said before flying away at top speed. Deku was now on his own against 6 villains that the Teen Titans had already faced. His body was shaking in slight fear, but he quickly pushed those thoughts out of his mind, shaking his head. He was one of the Titans, and he had to do the right thing. He had to give Karen time to get the team, so he'd have to do everything that he could. Back with the team of bad girls, they had already started setting up the explosives around the bridge. Giganta had placed some of the heavier explosives near the entrance as to ensure its destruction. Star Sapphire and Livewire placed the charges on the top of the supports. Poison Ivy used her plants to put some bars of TNT on the pillars that held the bridge above the water. Meanwhile, Catwoman and Harley Quinn were observing the operation. Oh man, I can't wait to see the look on people's faces when they see my master plan, Harley said, giggling like a maniac. I still say this is stupid. We should have done a heist, Catwoman said, crossing her arms. Maybe next time, Kitty. Hey Meathead, are those things secured? Asked Harley to Giganta. Meathead? Watch your tone, clown. I am Giganta, Giganta said menacingly. Would you guys knock it off? I am ready to blow up this taco stand, Livewire said, appearing next to the girls. Yeah, I have a beauty treatment appointment tomorrow and I don't want to be in jail because of this thing, Star Sapphire said, floating down to the group. Well, some of us have responsibilities with their precious babies. Not all of us can afford losing a massage, Poison Ivy said, getting in Sapphire's face. Girls please. No need for a cat fight, said Catwoman, getting between the two supervillains. Yeah. Besides, we don't want to miss the fireworks, Harley said, grabbing the detonator. Before the crazy clown could push down the detonator, a powerful blast of air knocked her back. Harley was then caught by Giganta before they all looked up to the source of the strange wind. Their eyes were shocked to see that it was none other than Deku standing there. He quickly grabbed the detonator and unplugged it before putting it under his arm. I'm sorry, but you're not blowing up the bridge, Deku said with firm conviction. Well, look what the cat dragged in, Catwoman said, getting a good look at Deku. It seems Loverboy wants to stop us girls. The rest of the villain girls spread out and stared down the hero. They each had their own reasons to take down Deku and the Teen Titans. Giganta wanted payback for the mall fight and all the times they stopped her rampages. Livewire still felt the sting of the double punch she got from Supergirl and Wonder Woman and wanted revenge. Poison Ivy wanted retribution for the destruction of her plants that Deku aided in. Catwoman desired revenge for being tricked and cheated out of her stolen loot. Star Sapphire was ready to repay Deku from keeping Hal away from her, and Harley wanted to put her mallet on his head for sending her to jail. All in all, the odds were not very good for Deku. Yet, he stood his ground and smiled as the power of One for All coursed through his body. There was no backing out from this battle, so he might as well give it his all. Time to pay you back for messing with our plans, hero, Livewire said before blasting a bolt at Deku. Deku quickly jumped high into the air, avoiding the attack. Just then, Star Sapphire flew high into the air and created a large heart-shaped hammer to hit Deku with. He then kicked his right leg, creating a small push of air which allowed him to dodge the attack. As he flew, Deku noticed that the detonator almost slipped out of his hands. He quickly grabbed it with both hands. Deku spun in the air before landing back on the bridge. He had to keep the detonator in both hands, as to not allow the vicious vixens before him to get it. Deku was forced out of his thoughts when the sharp sound of a whip cracked through the air. He narrowly dodged Catwoman's whip, only getting a graze on his left cheek. He looked back and saw her grinning like a Cheshire cat. Keep your head in the game, sweet pea. Wouldn't want your handsome face scarred now, would we? Asked Catwoman, grinning. Just then, a massive shadow appeared behind Deku. He turned and saw Giganta about to smash him. He jumped out of the way, rolling to a stop. I'm about to smash you good, little man, said Giganta. Deku quickly called upon his memorized notes on Giganta. Her large size gave her a great deal of strength, but her body couldn't compensate for the massive amount of muscles, making it hard for her to move. Giganta reached towards Deku with one of her massive hands. Deku used his speed to run behind her with ease. He ran fast in circles around the tall woman. Stay still, you little rabbit, Giganta said as she tried to grab hold of him. 1 second he was in one spot, and then he was in another. Deku's fast movements were causing Giganta to trip with her own feet and crossed her legs. He then used this opportunity to jump and kick Giganta behind her back, knocking her off balance. Giganta fell down on her face with a heavy thud. The rest of the villain girls used this chance to attack at the hero. One by one they attacked, forcing Deku to stay on the defensive and recall all the notes that he took on each of them. Catwoman threw her whip at Deku, but he easily dodged it. He kept moving fast around and out of the weapon's reach. Harley brought out her large mallet and swung it at him, but he simply jumped over it and passed her. Deku then rose his right leg and broke the large hammer in half. Star Sapphire created her heart daggers and fired them at Deku. He ducked under the daggers and then spun around, sending a shockwave with one powerful kick. The love-powered lantern was sent flying backwards by the attack. Poison Ivy joined in with a swarm of vines. Deku jumped out of the way of the vines, but soon enough noticed that Ivy was trying to get closer to him. He pulled forth his left arm, finger ready for a flick. Delaware, smash, Deku called as he fired a blast of compressed air directly at Poison Ivy. She was sent backwards into Harley Quinn, knocking them back. That does it, hero. Let's see if you can glow like a Christmas tree, Livewire called, as the electricity crackled around her. She began firing lightning bolts at Deku, hoping to shock him to death. Deku narrowly bent backwards, dodging the attack. He moved fast, dodging the bolts as he cut the distance between them. Once he was close enough, he landed a kick in Livewire's stomach. The force of the kick sending the villainess back. Just then, Catwoman's whip wrapped itself on Deku's leg and pulled him back. The cat-themed villainess jumped over the hero and quickly wrapped the rest of her whip on his legs, pinning him to the ground. The detonator taken out of his hand. "You sure are handling yourself very well against us, Deku," Catwoman said, putting her heel on Deku's chest. "Makes me wonder." "About?" Deku asked before using One for All to break free of Catwoman's grasp. "You remind me of the big bad of Gotham. He always has these plans to take down criminals." Catwoman continued, as the villain girls surrounded Deku. "But you're way too nice, sweetie." Just then, Giganta jumped in before Deku and threw a punch at him. Deku wasn't going to react quickly enough, but he didn't have to. In the blink of an eye, Wonder Woman appeared before Deku, stopping the punch. "Sorry for the delay, Deku?" "Here we are," Wonder Woman said before punching Giganta away from the young hero. Telsuriapa morpha fupfoecoms. A large purple smoke puff appeared in the middle of the bridge. All the villain girls gasped as the rest of the Teen Titans appeared around Deku. "Sorry for taking too long, Deku. Hope you weren't in too much trouble," Bumblebee said. "I'm alright, thanks, Bumblebee," Deku said, getting ready to fight. "I know how hard it is to get Supergirl away from her music." "Hey, are we doing this now or what?" Supergirl asked. "Yes, let's. Titans together," Wonder Woman called out as the heroes targeted the villains and began fighting. Batgirl tackled Harley Quinn before she had a chance to use her now smaller mallet. They rolled on the bridge for a bit before Batgirl kicked Harley in the stomach. The Clown Girl got back at it with a frown and fired her cork gun at the hero. Batgirl dodged the large projectile with ease before throwing a pair of bat bolas at Harley. The Clown Girl tried to avoid them, but she was caught by the gadget. "Guess Deku was right, you don't think much when you're left without your mallet," Batgirl said. "Hey!" snapped Harley. Up in the sky, Green Lantern was trying to contain the angry Star Sapphire's attacks. The love-powered lantern created a flaming heart and fired it at Jess. Green Lantern created a shield construct to counter the attack, and then began thinking back on Deku's notes against Star Sapphire. She had to weaken her concentration. Green Lantern pulled back the shield and rocketed high into the air before creating another construct. She created a powerful thick cloud of sleeping gas with her ring, and captured Star Sapphire inside it. "You think this'll stop me? My love will burn this thing in. A second," Star Sapphire said before passing out. "Now, have a nice long siesta," said Green Lantern before putting her gently on the ground. Supergirl was facing off against Livewire as she had a score to settle with the blonde. She fired bolt after bolt against Supergirl, but she was able to hold her ground against the barrage. "I'm going to pay you back for that sucker punch you and Wonder Whore gave me," Livewire snapped. "Oh please, that wasn't a sucker punch," Supergirl replied before using her freeze breath to encase Livewire from the waist down. "You think I can't get out of this? I'll melt this thing in 5 seconds flat," Livewire claimed with an unknowing smile. "Here, let me," Supergirl said using her heat vision. The ice surrounding Livewire turned into water in a second, and her smile quickly turned into an "oh crap" face, as she suddenly begins shorting out by the contact with the liquids around her. "I prefer a more hands-on approach, but that was oddly satisfying," Supergirl said. Zatanna was casting spells to counter Poison Ivy's vicious plant monsters. She fired a lightning ball at a large set of vines, frying them to a crisp. Just then, Ivy's plants appeared behind the magical member of the team, wrapping around her. "Time for you to obey Mother Nature," said Poison Ivy as she drew near Zatanna. Zatanna quickly chanted a small spell under her breath before Ivy kissed her lips. Zatanna closed her eyes as if she were in a trance. "Now, attack the other Titans," ordered Ivy, unwrapping Zatanna. "Snulp denora Evi reti," Zatanna chanted. All of Ivy's plants began to turn brown and fall to pieces, including the ones that acted as her clothes. She fell to the ground, covering herself in shame. "But how? You should be under my control," Poison Ivy said. "I kissed you, and as much as I appreciated it," began Zatanna before pulling off a pair of plastic lips off of her own lips. "You just aren't my type," she said before wrapping the villain with a rope of handkerchiefs, tying her up. Wonder Woman was facing off against Giganta, in a test of strength. "You're going down, Blunder Woman," Giganta said, trying to crush the hero. "Is that really the best nickname you could come up with?" Wonder Woman asked as she pushed back the giant woman. The massive woman was giving the Amazon princess a run for her money, but Wonder Woman had a plan up her sleeve. Just as Giganta was about to slam her fists down on the Amazon, she rolled underneath her and jumped for the raised arms. With a mighty tug, Wonder Woman pulled Giganta down, slamming her on the bridge. She then turned her around and wrapped her arms behind her back. Wonder Woman used her lasso of truth to wrap and hogtie Giganta like a cow in a rodeo. "This can't be happening, my own muscles used against me," Giganta said. "That appears to be the case," Wonder Woman said triumphantly. Deku and Bumblebee were teaming up against Catwoman, who was using her claws to keep the two heroes at bay. She swiped at the two heroes with grace and speed, only getting scratches in on Deku's costume. Bumblebee flew in and began stinging the cat-themed supervillain. Deku took this chance and jumped into the fight. Spinning his legs in a downwards angle, he unleashed his new attack. "Manchester, smash!" Deku called out as a powerful shockwave blasted Catwoman backwards into the railings of the bridge. Catwoman looked around her as all her allies had been defeated with different yet very effective methods. "It is over, Catwoman. Surrender now," Wonder Woman called. "Or don't. You've been asking for a pounding," said Supergirl as she cracked her knuckles. Catwoman's eyes shifted from one side to the other before she realized what to do. She raised her hands up almost as if she was surrendering. "All right, you've got us," Catwoman said, putting her behind her back. But it was simple a ruse. Catwoman threw a large canister in front of the Teen Titans, before covering her eyes and ears. A bright light lit up the bridge, forcing the heroes to cover their eyes. A flashbang left them blind and deaf for a short minute. When their senses returned to them, the villain girls were all gone. "Aw, come on," Supergirl yelled in frustration. "It appears that they've all escaped, but at least the bridge is still intact," Wonder Woman said. "Yeah, that's a relief," Deku added. In a faraway abandoned warehouse near the river, the villain girls were not happy. Giganta punched a large canister in frustration. "We should have stayed and fought those heroes," Giganta demanded. "So that they could have defeated us with more of their plans?" "I don't think so," Catwoman said. "What you talking about, kitty?" asked Harley as she began fixing her mallet with a roll of duct tape. "I'm talking about the Titan's secret weapon," Catwoman replied, causing confusion amongst the other girls. "Supergirl?" asked Livewire. "Zatanna?" asked Poison Ivy, now wearing a large thick sweater. "That bug Bumblebee?" asked Giganta. Catwoman could only facepalm herself in irritation. "I am surrounded by idiots," Catwoman said under her breath before taking a deep breath. "Deku, you numbskulls." This of course caused the other girls to blink in curiosity and confusion. "Green Mint Guy is their secret weapon?" Harley asked. "The way he moved and fought shows that he is more analytical. Fighting in a way that he'll be ready for the next round. Holding back just enough to beat us with brains rather than brawn," Catwoman explained. "Wait, he was holding back? I've got an upset stomach that begs to differ," Livewire said, not believing the words of Catwoman. "The point is, not only are they more than us, but they are learning and becoming stronger than us," Catwoman said. "Unless you weren't paying attention, we got our butts kicked, first by Loverboy himself and then by the rest of the team. We need to even the score, she said, hitting her left palm with her right fist. How? Harley asked. We need our own Deku, Catwoman said with a dark smile on her face. And guys, this is the end. I hope you guys enjoyed. Well, until next time, peace.